So today, of course, we want to welcome. They don't need much of introduction, but I'll let them talk just quickly about who they are. This particular panel is exploring, what culture and entertainment, how that affects and drive economic development in cities, right? So, we're gonna start off with Ro. Just tell me a little bit about yourself and why you're here.
Yes, greetings everyone. Rastafari I love. My name is Rohan Marley, one of the Marley brothers from the Marley family. Um, I'm the Rastapreneur in the family, and what that means, I'm the one that goes out there and find things to do that we don't normally do. So an innovator, I should say. So I'm here today to be a part of innovation, be a part of the future development of not only the Caribbean, but life in general. So that's what I represent of the Marley family. And
Walshy.
well, shit.
Yes, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Feel like my microphone kind of low. Big respect, everybody. My name is Leighton Walsh. Everybody just calls me by my last name, Walshy, Walshy Fire. I'm a musician and a producer, and I also do events, and I own a bar in Miami called Dante's Vinyl Hi-Fi. You guys should definitely check it out. And yeah, I headlined Coachella on Sunday, so if you guys have some time, bring the kids around the TV Sunday at 6 p.m. And oh, sorry, no, Miami time, 9 p.m. Yeah, man. And enjoy the show. It's gonna be a good one. And yeah, we'll have a great discussion today on all things. So big up everybody. Rasta love. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so you did mention the fact that you're a part of a major laser. So, talk about economic development. You've been all over the world, right? Traveling and doing all these shows and whatnot. What have you seen from city to city as, you see entertainment being used as an economic driver for most of those cities that you've been in?
Yeah, man. So I've been to about 106 countries, and you can tell that music, art, and architecture, and also sorry, trees, are such a main drive for culture and for economic growth in a place. And when you're devoid of these, I would say, trees is very important. When you're devoid of these four things, usually you find crime rates are higher. Um, and there's nothing driving economy. You see plazas that are empty, stores not working. Also, the city just suck, you know, and there's a lot of cities that suck.
Yeah, yeah. Don't be one of those cities, okay, that
Yeah,
suck.
and if you guys are from Florida, you know Florida has a lot of places that just suck. And then
Big takeaway from the Tomorrow.City, all right?
yeah, and then if you guys, I was saying in an interview earlier, how many people here are familiar with Coconut Grove? So if you're not from South Florida, go to Coconut Grove, and you're going to see what the rest of South Florida could look like if people included art, architecture, trees, and music. And I hope that everybody who's here and who's presenting has that in the forefront of all their projects, because I don't think any city will not suck if it has those four things.
Yeah, so Ro, your family obviously deep legacy. Bob, your father, still timeless. All right, in all conversation in every room. So you've seen how that music, reggae, created in Jamaica, has become a worldwide thing that and it actually has helped the island, but not just Jamaica in itself. But your family, you've seen all the ventures that has come out of that. How do you describe how all these things unfold? What projects you guys take on, and you continue to use the Marley name and brand to build?
In terms of life and journey, Rastafari is life, and Rastafari is a journey because it's a way of life. So some of the things that you see us doing today, those are the things that we have been inspired by since we were youth. And growing up in Jamaica, growing up in Hope Road, is where our father first started his own ecosystem. So we're a product of myself. I'm a product of Bob's ecosystem, in terms of development and what we can do to further life outside of just being a singer, you know. So we, as the children of Bob, our goal is to manifest the truth in self, which is taking that word and making that word become tangible. And through those tangibilities, we get our teachings from Rastafari. So definitely it's going to have this soul to it, right? Because everything we do, we want it to be like more like us than we are like the object. So it's really doing things soulfully, and that's how we get to choose the things that we want to do, things that resonate with life and resonate with our day to day.
So, I mean, can you explain a little bit about Rastafari to folks here who are probably not aware?
Yes. So
I think you have a guest here that's
yes.
brother. So,
First of all, I want to say big respects to my big brother Ikula. Ikula is one of the leaders of the Rastafari community. Ikula, the respect we have for Ikula is someone that reminds us of our father because he has maintained that liberty since then till now. He's one of those Rasta men that took the time to go live in the hills and live without the things what we call Babylon, which is the things that like you utilize for your everyday life. So Ikula went up in the hills to just live with the greens. So we call that Aita liberty. So in terms of how we translate that into our day-to-day is really being Rastafari. And you ask, what is Rastafari? Well, Rastafari is, to we, Rastafari means the head, right? In terms of leadership, in terms of kingship. And Tafari represents the temple, which is ourself. And physically, Haile Selassie I is the example of self in terms of how to live in this world, how to govern oneself in this world, and how to take on responsibility that are of a king, which is a father, the divine self, which is your spirituality, your day-to-day life, and really the prophet of self, which is the vision of self, visionary and being able to manifest your vision. So Rastafari really starts with that. Starts with spirituality, starts with actuality, then starts in tangible things. And that's really Rastafari, and it starts really out of the Bible still.
yeah. So, how do you translate that Walshy into actual, real, tangible things? You mentioned Dante's Hi-Fi. So it's a great space. You guys do a lot of different things there around vinyl, mostly. How do you translate? Creating spaces for people to live a wonderful communal life. How did you get to that point in your your space of going to ownership?
Yeah,
I
man.
guess.
Well, traveling, especially when you go to places like Japan or Sweden, Stockholm, and you go to places that have various conditions, weather-wise and culture-wise, and I mean, they're just completely different from us. And they find the importance in these spaces. They are, they prioritize a place where you can listen to music on a hi-fi sound system, quality. They prioritize art galleries where you can see quality art in a quality space. They prioritize having trees, even when you see the neighborhood winding in a certain, it's like them prioritize and say, we can't cut down all these trees. They prioritize the things that add value to life. And I hope that that's what I've done with my vinyl bar, as well as, entertaining people and creating entertaining spaces for people to go have fun.
Sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah, man. But most importantly, man, it's got to be included in the beginning stages.
So the early planning stages.
Yeah, man. Early planning. You have to say, yo, we need art galleries. We need bookstores, guys. You have to have a bookstore in other place. Because without these things, you find that the crime rate goes up, and like I said, everything just isn't a place that people even talk about living. Architecture is such a major part of beauty, and man, Florida is mostly cookie cutter. Most people live in a cookie cutter place, and you can still have sustainable living and have beautiful architecture. It's just not in the.
There's some nice architect here too in Florida,
Yeah, man. Holy.
Because Florida has been around so long that people think it's a new place.
Mm-hmm.
Florida's been here since 2000 year old. You know, what I mean, it's a part of the ancient land. So, some of the things that she's talking about is really what we do need is to expand upon the region and take it upon yourselves to kind of get into the culture and being a culture appropriate and start to really deal with the people in the culture. So those things is an awakening, not just being trying to do what was done before in terms of a cookie cutter, but being an innovator, right? And that's why we're even here in what we
Yeah, the Tomorrow.City conference. Yeah.
yeah, because it's about the future.
So, I mean, how do you talk to government or, say private-public collaboration? How do you open up the conversation about incorporating a cultural sort of DNA into how we design and build cities?
I feel like the government has to want that too. And being that if they want better for humanity, they're going to deal with the people that are in touch with the culture, in touch with the communities, and can get an understanding and what the needs are of the community. It's being in touch with the people. So to do that, you got to be a people person. You got to go around, you got to communicate, you got to ask about what's going on, what are the needs here. So those are the first things, is really getting in touch with the community and the development.
I want to just, before you move on to the next point, I want to say this is exactly right. There's such a big disconnect. There's such a big, wall to jump over. When you see places that are not handicap accessible, it's usually because there's people that they don't see any handicapped people. They just don't even recognize them, and so therefore they build this place that's difficult for people to get around. And there has to be people who understand the people representing the people, and that's a difficult thing to get.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead if you want to clap around that. Definitely cool. Yeah, so I mean, it always comes back down to the people, and one of the things that Walshy, especially with Major Lazer, around the album, around Major Lazer, "Peace is the Mission." Yeah. Yes. So that explain that title and how that could resonate, especially have a room full of people who are making decisions for cities.
Yeah, man. Well, peace is always the mission, and the last album we did, it was called "Music is the Weapon." So, but we use music to get peace, but, everybody can use what they have. I mean, if you think about it, a lot of these communities, they have like a HOA, right? And the HOA is usually governed by a person who everyone hates.
True.
A Karen-ish kind of, And
there's always a lot of fraud situation.
And always some corruption are going.
Yeah.
And why is that? These people have the time and the energy, and we need to stop allowing that. We need to say, we need to have the time and the energy to govern our community. So I live, in Florida. You guys know we have snowbirds. Lots of people from Boston and New York that come down, and they just don't understand the culture. They don't understand what they're seeing. So when they see a 5,000-year-old tree, they don't see it and care. They just say, chop down the tree. Let's build a nothing there.
Yeah.
'Cause we have lots of nothing spaces.
Yeah.
That's a problem, and maybe we should address that. We should talk about it. We should say, okay, well, we are letting down ourselves. It's our fault at the end of the day.
So yeah, so involvement, and how do you spur community to stay involved? Earl, with you, talk a little bit about your coffee and as far as an entrepreneurial journey coming out of Ethiopia, and you can give the brief version.
This is my first. All right, this is my first time telling the story with Icula in house, because in 1999, Icula called me on the phone and says, "Hey man." Not hey man, but you're a Rasta. You're a Rasta. He says, there's a piece of property that's in Jamaica that belongs in the Marley family. Icula told me this. I said, yeah. I said, at the time, I just got $200,000 from a publishing deal from my family. So I say to Icula, I said, how much are they asking for the land? He says, $200,000. I said, well, I can entertain that. so Icula said, all right, come down to Jamaica. I go down to Jamaica, and Icula picked me up from the airport, and we went to see the property. And when I saw the property, I said to Icula, I don't see anyone in Jamaica with nothing like this that look like us, you know? So that was my first initiative to really take this piece of land. The first thing was having the access to the land, and then finding out what is the land, what is, first, my next question was to the community, what is the community known for? And they told me coffee. I asked them, do they know anything about coffee? They told me they've been farming coffee all their lives. So I said, all right, we're in the coffee business. Because going into a community, not knowing anything about anything, the first thing is what are you guys up to? What's the thing here? How are you going to survive? What's the survival method here that I can come and bring some resources to help you to survive? And that was coffee. And that's kind of how I got into the coffee space, was through farming.
So yeah. So I mean, a recurring theme I'm hearing here is definitely get to know the people, their needs, all right, before you go out there and design, I mean, invest, design, or build anything, right? So what do you guys see going forward, okay, with the culture? I mean, you guys have many ventures going on. You know, some of you talk about something you don't, some of you don't talk about. But what do you see the culture, you know, where's it going in helping to drive economic development, especially in historically, you know, disenfranchised communities
I
and
have
things
I
like
have
that?
something to add to that. I would say I see unity, and the unity, it starts with us to really unite in terms of what Walshy is doing, what I'm doing on the other side, is really bringing that together. Because you hear we talk about it in terms of the culture is really having the accessibility to the arts and the creativity, but understanding that there's a business side to that, and there's a side to that that can make life better. But if you don't know that arts is also life changing, you won't know that. So people like Walshy and what he's been doing over his whole career is moving young artists along, helping them to make it life better for themselves. So it's really about unity, us getting together and creating something that we can live in the same space.
So Walshy, you know, we only have a few minutes left, but talk about your book, Art of Dancehall, because that's also talk about, you know, art turning into an economic, you know, force.
Yeah, man.
Talk about that.
So first of all, I give thanks for that. He's what he said is absolutely powerful. The book is called Art of Dancehall. Everybody, okay? It's on Amazon.com. And I did this book because I grew up in the dancehall space, and I used to hand out. I'm sorry, I used to sell cassette tapes. I'm from Halfway Tree, Kingston, originally, Mullines Road, and then when I came to America, I was selling cassette tapes that I used to get from Halfway Tree. So I used to walk around 183rd Street Flea Market. I used to walk around South Beach, and I used to sell these cassette tapes. And I would pick up flyers. I was like 14 years old. Back then, 14 years old, you could do that. Now, I don't know if any kid could be walking around the streets like I was at 4 in the morning selling tapes, but back then, you could do that. And I would get these flyers to know where to go sell. And eventually, I decided to keep them because I thought the artwork was great. And so the book is a representation of, from the 1960s to about 1999, flyers from all over the world from dancehall parties. Now, this book also allowed me to enter into the art space and the book space, which I wasn't a part of before. And then I really began to understand the weight and the importance of art and books. And so I encourage everybody to put art and books alongside music when implementing your strategies for communities of the future. I believe that these are extremely important things that would be highly, highly misrepresenting what we want as far as the unity that was talked about early without them. I believe you have to be able to know you can go into a space and there's other intelligent, creative, hardworking people that'll be around you. Otherwise, you end up in communities where, you know, if the neighbor's house is burning across the street, I can't even call them because I don't know them. I just call 911, but I can't call you and say, man, you know your house on fire? I have to call 911 because I don't know you. And we don't know each other because we don't have any spaces together.
Yeah, and so in wrapping up where we design cities that don't suck. Um, Ro, just tell me where are you going with Marley Coffee? I mean, I know talk about the real estate side of things and the brand itself, and what you're trying to build in one of your many ventures.
Well, I have a concept, and the concept is this: 1976, my father had an incident in Jamaica where they tried to assassinate him. Big incident, of course. And through that time, he wanted a little bit more space. So he moved his mother from Delaware to right here in Miami. And that was 1976. So come here now, 2026. We're 50 years in South Florida. So the next step for myself, being that I went to elementary here, I went to high school, went to University of Miami, played football. I'm a local, you know. So I want to tell the Miami story of the Marley family and our legacy here as well. So that means taking, because our coffee is #1 in the Chile, Latin America. So taking the success of the Chile market that we've done in Chile, taking our legacy from farming and our history in Jamaica, bringing my concept of what I consider a true coffee house, comes out of Vienna, and bringing that here to South Florida, where we've been living for the past 50 years. So the future for what we're looking into is really establishing our presence here. So my children can also have somewhere that they can even begin this Rastapreneur life, where they can work for self and build our own ecosystem, that our children's children can do what the legacy that we have had to build upon as a Marley that my father did for us. We keep building on that foundation for his children. Because we're all Bob's children, and we're all children of the Most High. So we just like to lay the foundation like that, so our children can stay within that lineage and stay on that divine path, because things must be done in a divine way in order for it to matter. So we have to do things that matter. You agree, sir?
And with that, thank you so much, guys,
Well
for
said.
this time. I know we don't have that much time, but really appreciate you coming out. And thank you very much for having us, Tomorrow City.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Rastafari. Love.